potentially Seattle to get out of that dominant running game.
The Patriots coming off their bye week, taking on the Jets. This game, perhaps a little closer than the Pats would have wanted it to be. Still, they get the win, 27-13. Tom Brady, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. Gronk was back, had his first touchdown since week 1. Sony Michel added over 130 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Pats, with all their weapons, now 8-3. See, are the Patriots looking like the Patriots again now that they do have Gronk back?
Well, one thing I did notice, 11 penalties is totally unacceptable for a Bill Belichick coach team. And especially, I think they had 9 in the first half after coming off a bye week. So I was surprised by that. I do like the theme. We're going to run the football. We're going to spread the ball basically between 3 people from the passing game standpoint, that being Gronk, Josh Gordon, James White out of the back, and every once in a while Edelman, he's going to be in there. So I like the theme. They go about trying to do business a certain way, trying to be physical. So I do like that. They're being methodical, and teams like Pittsburgh, they're leaking oil after a huge comeback win last week against Jacksonville. So I like what they're doing. This is the way New England, this team is not like any other New England team, and typically that's the way that they do it. They know their personnel. They try to utilize them, make them take advantage of their strengths, not trying to exploit their weaknesses, and that's what this team is doing with their running game and with Gronk being on the end, being an inline blocker.
The biggest thing that happened for New England yesterday was Pittsburgh's loss, because even with that win yesterday, it's to me further confirmation that this team cannot go on the road in the postseason and win multiple games. Cannot be the 3 seed and beat the 2 seed on the road and then go to the 1 seed, because they've played 6 road games this year. All 6 they've started poorly. Now 3 of them they've ended poorly as well. The 3 that didn't were this week, where it was 13-13 midway through, late in the third against the Jets. They end strong. The Bears game, where they need 2 special team scores to take control, and the Bills game, which was tight late in the third quarter. Like, this team has not been good away from Gillette. Yesterday, because they're playing a very weak Jets team and they finished great, 2 great touchdown drives, it covered that up a bit. But offensively, they have not been great on the road.
This was the first time I really questioned, too, what they were doing offensively. Late in the game, when Ben has the opportunity to try to make a play to be able to tie it up, I wonder if L. Bell's there, if he hands that run-pass option off compared to Connor. Connor fumbled earlier in the game, which was a huge turnover. First time that I really questioned, wow, I wonder what would happen if L. Bell was there.
And that was the critical moment in the Steelers game that led to this being available for the Patriots. But if the Pats are in a spot where all of a sudden, this year they're 2-0 in games with Gronk, Michel, and Edelman, right? But that also means there's only been 2 games where those 3 guys have all been active. Sony Michel was great once again. We have seen in years past, they don't have Edelman for a full season. Last year, they make the Super Bowl. They don't have Gronk during a playoff run. They make the Super Bowl. I don't think this team is capable of that. I think this team offensively needs all of its weapons a full go in order to be the level that we think they can be. But now, even though I think they've been underwhelming a lot of the year, look at the standings. Oh, they're only back of 1 team, and that team they beat head-to-head. So I'm sure Belichick's just fine with where they are through 11 games.
All right, let's move on to last night's game. Aaron Rodgers trying to get the Packers into the playoff picture, taking on Kirk Cousins and the Vikings in Minnesota. Second quarter, Vikings trailing. Cousins finds Stephon Diggs. Trailing no longer. We're tied at 14. Then, end of the third quarter, Cousins this time hits Adam Thielen for the touchdown. Vikings take the lead, 24-14, less than 3 minutes to go. Packers still down 10. Aaron Rodgers looking, can't hit Devontae Adams in the end zone. Packers lose 24-17. They fall to 4-6-1. They fall to 0-6 on the road. Vikings improve to 6-4-1. Here's Kirk Cousins on defeating Aaron Rodgers.
Well, last week left a bad taste in our mouths, and the chance to come back on Sunday Night Football against a division rival at home was a great opportunity, and I'm glad we made the most of it. It took, a great team effort, a lot of people involved to make that happen, and I'm thrilled with the outcome.
Well, I mean, we are where we're at right now, record-wise. We're going to need some help from some teams, and then we got to take care of our own business. We're going to have to find a way to win a game on the road. We're 0-6 on the road, so we just got to go back home, get some rest, beat Arizona, and then come back and beat Atlanta, and go to Chicago, a place we've won a number of times, beat them. Go to New York around Christmas, beat them, and come home against Detroit, beat them, get a little help.
So just those things. So
just
nothing,
run the
just
table.
Run the table and then get help, and then make a couple Christmas wishes, and you're good to go. CC, who would you blame for the way the Packers season has gone this season?
I can't blame one person because there's too many things. Aaron mentioned first the team being 0-6 on the road. So whoever puts together a team like that, you have to be able to blame that they can't play outside of Lambeau. So it's been a collection of their inability to run the ball on the road and the way their defense plays on the road. So you can't blame just one thing on the Pack. I believe that the Pack have not built this team to be able to support Aaron Rodgers, which we've gone on for months and months and months, but they've made the changes, and they are like the Chicago Bears. Are they just maybe a free agent acquisition away from like Khalil Mack? Are they a free agent acquisition like the Vikings with Kirk Cousins? Because both of these teams participated in a heavy way, record-breaking contracts. Vikings to their quarterback, the Bears to and this is the opposition. So for me, the lack of participation in free agency, the lack of having a competent defense, which the Bears do have and the Vikings do have. So to me, when I look at the teams they go against, I have to place the blame on how these teams are put together, and this is not a team that can support Aaron Rodgers.
And listen, for the totality of the season, listen, this team's had 6 losses through 11 games for 3 straight years now. Now, last year, it was Aaron Rodgers broke his collarbone. They didn't have a viable backup quarterback. But 2 years ago, Aaron Rodgers was healthy. They were 5-6 through 11 weeks. Then they did run the table to get into the playoffs, made it all the way to the NFC Championship game. This year, running the table might not even be enough to get them in the playoffs. So in years past and in weeks past, I would have said the coach, the guys around him, this specific game, Rodgers could have been better. And Rodgers needed to be better. In 2018, less than 200 yards passing, 1 touchdown, a 94 passer rating. That's a below-average football game. That might have been a good game when Rodgers first came into the league, but we're not in that era anymore. And when I watch Aaron Rodgers this year, what I am seeing is his play reflects the comments from last week when he said, I need to play a perfect or a near-perfect football game. Right. He seems to be putting almost undue pressure on himself to try to make the big play every play. And there are times where it's third and manageable, and he's taking deep shots down the field. Now, I don't mind taking your deep shot on 2nd and short because you know you can go pick it up on 3rd down. But when you're going to be punting, if you don't pick it up, I wouldn't try for the 35-yard gain if I can get the first down. What's the line? You don't go broke making a profit.
You never go broke taking a profit.
Yeah.
By taking the easy stuff that they give you in the NFL, the shallow stuff, if they present it there, take it and rely on the skill of the guy you're giving the ball to.
And that's one thing I will give Brady tremendous credit for. Brady's learned that early and often, and really, obviously he will take shots. And that year with Moss in 07, it seemed like they were doing nothing but taking shots. But how often do we see the Patriots just, it's 3rd and 6. We've got Edelman coming over the middle for a 7-yard gain that we've done 500 times. And they don't seem to do that in Green Bay nearly as much. And they don't, when's the last time, Jenna, as you were saying, we saw a play in Green Bay and we're like, that's a fancy new wrinkle we haven't seen before.
Lately would be the first time. It feels like it's been years since like 96, 97, since it is the same offense that we've seen back then. You don't see a lot of trick plays. You don't see a lot of innovative plays. You don't see a lot of flashy things from the offense. Not that you need all that, but you need something that people aren't going to be able to defend. You need something that people are going to say, that's what the Green Bay offense is running. And it just feels like this is a stale offense. Week in and week out, if Aaron Rodgers isn't perfect or near perfect, they're not winning these games.
I think stale is a very good word. I think if you look at who Mike McCarthy as a play caller in 15, 16, 17, who he was, the plays I think would match up with the plays that they have this year. What we don't see from the Packers, when the Packers are best, when Aaron Rodgers in a West Coast offense, the guy who is very, very accurate, who doesn't turn the ball over, he is best when you can be on time throwing the football and guys get yards after the catch. So when you look at their roster, outside of Randall Cobb, who's a guy on their roster is going to scare you with the ball in open space? There's not a guy. So when you look at the receivers that they've gone to as far as a lot of young guys, they don't match the skill set of guys we've seen come through there. Donald Driver, Greg Jennings, Jordy Nelson, Cobb, all these guys, top flight receivers, route runners and catchers, but all of them elite after the catch. You don't see that with the Packers. So now when you don't have those yards after the catch, that offense is a lot easier to defend, and that's what the Vikings did to him last night.
And that is on the head coach. Just like not being able to show up on the road ever and win is on the head coach. And that's where the only saving grace to this season for Packer fans is you might have lost the battle but be winning the war. Because I think because of how this season has gone, you are going to get a new potentially innovative, offensive-minded head coach for the last few years of Aaron Rodgers' prime, and we'll get to see in today's NFL what an unleashed Aaron Rodgers really can do. But last night, part of that loss is on.
Yeah, I'd like to see you break down Mike McCarthy's last 18 games on the road and Mike Tomlin's last 18 games on the road. Both these coaches get a lot of criticism. I think the tale of the tape would be totally different on one side.
Tomlin's 14-2-1 in his last 17 on the road. We know McCarthy's lost 8 in a row on the road, so that gets you halfway there.
All right, got to take a break. One more segment. Can the Steelers, speaking of Mike Tomlin, overcome Big Ben's huge blunders? That's next on First Things First. Pluralized blunders.
What's a bigger blunder? Ben, what he did yesterday, or you dropping that dumbbell on Nick?